15 stroke date. I found myself jobless now. Presently, I'm managing a job, electrical job, which I invested my money and went to go and acquire some skills, which is providing money for me now.
Instead of me searching for a job, my father just advised me, instead of you working somewhere, killing yourself, you know what the country is now, just go into this. And I thought of it, I started making research, then I started doing my father's business. And that was how I started selling ads. I sell ads here and there.
Up to date, if I see a job, I will work, but if the pay is meaningful, because now they can't give me a job that will be earning like 45,000 or 50,000, because now through my electrical job I'm doing now, I earn more than the salary I think they will offer me now.
The dire unemployment situation, which some believe is more severe than reported, has been made worse by the coronavirus pandemic, which has led to shutdown of businesses. The adverse effects of this rising unemployment rate in Nigeria are becoming enormous and far-reaching.
Where there is unemployment, there is psychological desperation in itself, the sense of not having something to do. Then you also have the cogent economic consequence of not having money to spend because you're not working. This economic consequence then falls into a sociological consequence, which is a criminal side, because if people cannot fend for themselves, they either beg or steal or engage in any kind of disruptive criminal act. For these reasons, for these three reasons of psychology, sociology, and economic reasons, it is very important that we take the issue of unemployment very seriously.
When you are not able to meet your basic needs, when you that were able to put food on your table, you're now struggling, you that you were able to give somebody 5,000 naira, you're the one that is now begging 5,000 naira, it affects your sense of worth.
The unemployment problem is compounded for those living with disabilities who have to deal with extra hurdles, people like Christiana, who is a visually impaired business owner and tutor in Lagos.
We have this misconception that when there is no sight, there is nothing you can do. But in my own case, it's not like that. But one of the problems that we have is like people never had that trust with people living that disability that they can deliver it. And at the same time, people look down on us, low esteem, and there is discrimination and stigmatization that you cannot deliver.
The problem of exclusion is also gendered, as the numbers show. While the rate of unemployment is high, women are the worst hit. In stock terms, there are 30% more unemployed women than men. Women face barriers that men don't have to deal with.
So the woman who's at home and who's caring for the children, or who's the natural carer, would we say that that person is employed or not? I would dare say that they are employed. Now, we may have as high as 10%. Like I said, I think it's more. We may have a lot more women not employed in the formal structure as we know it, either within the corporate world or perhaps down the line of entrepreneurship. And there are very many different reasons and factors for that. But the starting point usually has to do with, the girl-child education, as we know, based on our culture and based on the long-standing statistics that we have that show that the girl child is not as educated. We don't take the same opportunities for the girl child as we've taken for the boy child due to cultural nuances. Traditionally, we believe that we should, educate the boys and not the girls. So let's go further up the pipeline. You do have girls who on graduation start and compete as well as the boys in terms of their careers, in terms of paid employment, and we're seeing a lot more of them now in terms of entrepreneurship. However, what tends to happen over time is, again, they tend to drop out when it's time perhaps to have a family. So it's really down sometimes to the choices that are made. And what we must do to try and balance things out is make sure that the choices that are open to women are actually more. So what are those things making them drop out? What are, for example, the reasons why midway through your career, you have to make a choice to say, I need to focus on my home? What then can employers do to ensure that these women are given the opportunities? How can we expand the choices such that I can manage my home, manage my career, still look after my children? And sometimes it's very simple things like, do we have the facility for childcare?
Unemployment in Nigeria is not just about availability of jobs, but also about the education system producing the right type of manpower in the right quality and quantity to industrialize the country. State actors and stakeholders say many Nigerian youths are not employable because their skills are largely divorced from labor requirements.
I think, in my view, reviving our technical and vocational education and training systems, it's not optional. As a matter of fact, it's where we must go, pari passu, our other academic institutions like universities and co, such that you find that we have a lot more focus around disciplines, around trades, around disciplines, around specializations. We're in I'm in a room now, I'm in your station, where journalism is a profession, right? But then there are also certain skill sets, whether it's graphics, whether it's creatives, that work very well with your industry. Now, not all of the skill sets that you need in this radio house require a university degree. So a lot of them can be honed, right from even maybe senior secondary or even post-secondary through different diploma programs and things like that. Now, that's what we must do in terms of our skilling process, so that you have what you call a multiple pathway to your aspiration in life.
Vocational training is the key, is the answer. Germany, all industrialized nations, they all depend on these skills training. They have a robust, developed infrastructure for skills training. And so we cannot, no economy, no country can really move forward without having a developed structure, a developed ecosystem, a developed environment to train people, to send people for internship, or to train people, intern people, and eventually create employment for people. Because eventually it is those people who are trained, it is those people who have gone through internship, it is those people who have become employable who eventually becomes employers themselves.
But where are these vocational schools? There are just about 123 government-approved vocational schools across Nigeria. Aside this, there is also a certain stereotype that discourages students from enrolling in such schools.
The reason why some people don't like vocational work, depending on the area of specialization, you have to, when you want to work, you have to change your wares. And some don't like dirty work. Like me, I'm a plumber. People don't really know. Once I'm done in site and going home, people don't really believe that I'm a plumber, because maybe my stature or the way I look, so people don't really believe unless they see me while working on site.
So unfortunately, the number of people who are applying, to learn skill and all of that is still very low in number. And I actually understand why it is low in number. When you operate in an environment that glorifies certificate over skill, when you operate in an environment where the skilled workers are not properly paid, when you operate in that environment where there is no glory in having skilled work, of course, the youth will not be interested in that. But when you operate in a society that celebrates certification without adequate work, and that do not pay people living wages for their skills, then of course there's going to be very low interest in that particular field of work.
In the absence of white-collar jobs, many youths have turned to the informal sector, earning a living with small businesses and creating employment also. Presently, these small businesses account for 96% of businesses and 84% of employment in the country. Despite the significant contribution of SMEs to the Nigerian economy, the sector is still struggling with growth.
For me, there are three things. The first one is infrastructure. Power, for example, access to markets. When you are an SME or a member of the informal sector, if you are producing something in small quantities, after you've paid your rent, you've bought your raw materials, you have your equipment, you of course have to supplement power because we don't have stable power in the country. So I think that's one of the major issues. Another issue is double tax or multiple taxation. A lot of businesses, there's no clarity on who they should be paying what taxes to. So, for example, I once worked with one of the mobility startups in Lagos in the bike-hailing space. And whilst we were, trying to speak with the LIRS, for example, about personal income tax or some basic tax from the drivers, we were obviously also having to deal with the unions, with their daily levies and all of that. So therefore, things like that will stifle businesses and informal sector players.
Although the informal sector may be having an influx of educated youths as players, there is also the snag of these graduates being majorly unequipped for entrepreneurship.
The world is moving from theoretical based learning to case based learning, where you sit and you study case studies, you study practical lessons about scenarios, right, for business. I think it was Obasanjo, regime that tried to introduce entrepreneurship studies as one of the general GES courses or general studies courses. And, you look at the syllabus of that course, it's the same theoretical stuff, right? So there is nothing that prepares them properly for the challenges, for the realities, for the type of dynamics that they will be facing if they go out into the business world, right? If you look at the Igbo apprenticeship culture, it's an amazing learning point, because everything does not have to be all your learning, your education doesn't have to come from the classroom, right? It does not always have to come from the classroom. So I think if government was serious enough, right, I would expect that the SMEDAN, for example, should have put in some type of structural support for the Igbo apprenticeship model, so that we can replicate those models across various societies.
The government acknowledges there is a bulging youth population with overwhelming unemployment figures. They, however, also insist they are addressing the problem.
The government has been consciously and in a deliberate manner trying to address the issue of the youth bulge. It's not just about the numbers. It's also about what are the needs of the variegated strata of the youth population. First, education is key, because education is power. Education is the greatest weapon against poverty. So the government has committed so much into education. There's emphasis on technical and vocational education, on the skills that you have. That's one. Two, as regards to the new technology, the digital economy, the ICT as it is, we've seen that our youth are IT savvy, we've seen that our youth have innovative minds. And my ministry, which is the Ministry of Youth, for instance, just during the COVID era, that's my first year in office, we were able to train close to 100,000 people on digital skills, which is still ongoing. We have quite a number of other skills. But the emphasis all around has been that the need to upskill our youth is a central agenda, but also to match the skills with the jobs available. There's been a mismatch in the past. But under this government, we've seen a deliberate effort to make sure that the upbringing of our youth, whether the skills they acquire matches the jobs available in the market, so that you just don't train them and throw them back into the job market. I know that you must have read it. In 5.5 years, this government has created 45 youth-focused programs. Some of them are empowerment programs. Some of them are entrepreneurship training. Some of them are technology training. And these programs are domiciled in various ministries.
Nigeria has not lacked special intervention programs. There are many of them. Yet, there are many unemployed youths as these intervention programs have failed in dropping the increasing unemployment rates. Critics argue that these programs are unimpressive.
For the intervention, or rather the interventions of the government, I'm going to score them high on intention and I'm going to score them low on performance or on result. High on intention because the act of rolling out a lot of intervention schemes like the End Power, You Win, and the various ones, including trader money, all to activate employment, shows that there are people thinking, there are people of good intention out there. But the method to which they've approached it and the results they're getting makes me score them low on it, because in 2021, it is not the role of government to be creating jobs for people or to be doling out money for individuals to grow their businesses. What the government needs to do are three, really, is to overall create an environment that allows employment to be created. Who create employment is businesses. So the government needs to create an environment that allows business to thrive and create employment, and thus doing, fight unemployment.
Government will tell you, BOI, CBN, all of these guys, they'll tell you that we are providing interventions for MSMEs. So we have this 10 billion, we have this 100 billion for MSMEs. And then they will give you the guidelines. And then in the guidelines, you will see that they need you to be registered with CAC, they need you to have a bank account, they need you to have a business plan, they need you to have a financial statement. Look, that already by design excludes majority of those in the MSME space.
To bridge its unemployment gap, experts say Nigeria will have to create 5 million jobs annually for the next 10 years. Is the Nigerian government ready to tackle this problem?
You know, that question is a question for Minister of Labor. It's a question for me, Minister of Youth Development. It's a question for the Minister of Finance. It's a question for the NBS. You know, but I only wear one cap. And my desire is that the youth unemployment will drop. What am I doing in that direction as a minister in this government? Is to make sure that we win our youth off this idea of just putting together a resume and looking for a job, a white-collar job, an office job, a 5 to 9 job. There's no country in the world that has been able to solve its youth unemployment problem without turning its youth into entrepreneurs. And that is the whole rationale behind the establishment of the Nigerian Youth Investment Fund. The emphasis is on two major things. That is, must invest in our youth, provide them the needed credit and capital, access to that capital that can make them become wealth creators. Second, we need to focus ourselves educationally. We need to provide technical skills and vocational skills. China, 2 years ago, decided to close down over 200 universities or 250 universities and then turn them into vocational and technical schools, because the emphasis now in the developed world is the skills and what you can produce with your knowledge and your hand, not sitting down and carrying files in an office. So we need that paradigm shift. The AFDB leads clearly in the fact that we should move from youth empowerment to youth investment. That don't give our youth handouts, but give them tools, give them resources, give them credit and finance so that they can start. And look at this country. Our youth are they're hugely talented. The creative and entertainment industry dominates. Look at Nollywood, for instance. Look at where it is right now. And look at the musical world. Our Nigerian musicians, massive. But there's also a value chain. So there's an emphasis on looking at what's the value chain in agriculture. How do we you don't have to be a farmer. You can be an off-taker, just buy the produce and take it to the market. Look at sports, for instance. The value chain of sports is massive. Have we explored it? No. Under this government, we've been able to reclassify sports from recreation to business. And as we put together that policy, the entire value chain of sports as business will employ a lot of youth.
If Nigeria is to turn its large youth population into an advantage, then Nigeria has to rapidly reduce the disastrously high rates of youth unemployment.
You see, luckily and unluckily for us, we are an underdeveloped country. And most of what we have, what we need, we don't have enough of them. We don't have enough schools. We don't have enough hospitals. We don't have enough, almost anything. I can't think of anything that we have enough of. That problem of scarcity of assets should become the solution to our problem, in the sense that we should just sit down and try to create what we lack. To create what we lack, we need to think of what is needed. Why is it that we're not producing, and why is it that we're not consuming what we produce? Why is it that there is no urge to produce? Why are we having more pastors and politicians than manufacturers? If we want to boost Made in Nigeria, for example, I think we need to sit down and say, the first thing we need to do is perhaps create 5,000 production managers as a pilot scheme across the country, so that each one of them will go to different areas and specialize in one sort of production or the other. I repeat, I'm insisting on production, knowing fully well that where there is production, accountants will be needed, photographers will be needed, salespeople will be needed. The core of progress since the Industrial Revolution lies in production.
They really need to go fast because boys are not smiling, and then it can lead to early bloodshed. Early bloodshed in the sense that there will be serious competition. Boys need to smile again. Boys are willing to get their hands on anything just for this bar. And the government, if they are this slow, they will not be able to withstand what will come.
With a population of over 200 million, Nigeria is the most populous black country on earth.
We are diverse, strong, vibrant, and mostly young. We are yet to reach the land of our dreams.
We can write, tell, and be our own story.
From the economy, education, security to politics, you name it.
We can build the Nigeria of our dreams if we work together.
Join us on The Run-Up to discuss and proffer solutions to the issues confronting our polity every weekday. I am Bayo.
I am Uche.
And I am Nyamgul. We invite you to The Run-Up, 9 a.m. Monday to Friday on this channel.
World Day Against Child Labor, held annually on June 12, is an international day to raise awareness and prompt action to stop child labor in all its forms. The International Labour Organization launched the first World Day Against Child Labor in 2002 as a way to highlight the plight of these children. The day is intended to serve as a catalyst for the growing worldwide movement against child labor and provide an opportunity to gain support from governments, civil society, schools, youth and women's groups, as well as the media in the campaign against child labor. Child labor is the employment of children in any work that deprives children of their childhood, interferes with their ability to attend regular school, and that is mentally, physically, socially, or morally dangerous and harmful. Therefore, the day seeks to alert the public to the fact that many children are forced to work every day when they should be in school to learn and to build a better future for themselves and their families. The World Day Against Child Labor aims to promote the rights of all children to be protected from child exploitation and other violations of their fundamental human rights, as well as combat all types of child labor. Child labor is rampant in many developing countries. Even in industrialized nations, many children are forced to work. According to figures available on the United Nations website, approximately 152 million children have been pushed into child labor. Out of the 152 million, around 72 million are involved in hazardous work. The data also reveals that around 48% victims of child labor are aged between 5 to 11 years old, 28% are aged between 12 to 14 years old, and the remaining 24% fall in the 15 to 17 years bracket. This year's World Day Against Child Labor focuses on action taken for the 2021 International Year for the Elimination of Child Labor, and will also focus on efforts to drive progress during the International Year, with a week of action raising the voices of International Labour Organization constituents and the many partners engaged in the struggle against child labor in all regions of the world.
Businesses in Africa can be very challenging. In Nigeria, it is particularly intimidating, and successful builders have learned how to navigate a hostile environment to unlock opportunities. But one major challenge businesses face is how to filter through the noise and identify where their ideal customers exist. Get insight and practical steps from industry players and captains of industries. Hear success stories to help you make informed decisions as you scale your business in Nigeria. Watch Business Insights at this time on Plus TV Africa.
Good afternoon, I'm Olamide Adeyemi. This is a news update. The chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, Professor Mahmood Yakubu, is confident that the commission has ended the era of election rigging in Nigeria. Mahmood also vowed that henceforth no eligible voter can vote more than once in any election in the country. The INEC chairman, who spoke at the seminar, added that the Commission has been legally empowered to review any election result declared under duress. He maintained that with the BVS and other electronic voting devices, there will be no case of overvoting in any polling station. According to him, the BVS will ensure that the fingerprint tally with the faces recorded. Meanwhile, the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, has debunked claims that it has plans to disrupt the election in Igbo land in 2023. The Media and Publicity Secretary of the group, Ima Powerful, in a press statement, described the news as false and accused the federal government of being responsible for insecurity in the southeast, with the hope of causing fear and accusing IPOB of their deeds. He emphasized the group's consistent demand for the UN to organize a referendum in the Biafran territory for the Biafran people to determine their destiny. The Nigerian Army has warned its personnel against being partisan in the coming elections. The General Officer Commanding 2 Division, Major General Aminu Chinade, spoke when he paid a working visit to 4 Brigade Nigerian Army, Benin City, the Edo State capital. He stressed the need for the men of the force to always discharge their duties with utmost professionalism, as well as work hand in hand with other security agencies.
You are all aware we are drawing closer to electioneering activities. Indeed, the electioneering campaign have begun last month on the 28th specifically. You must know that the military is a neutral organization. and you must remain apolitical and make sure that you do not indulge in any activities that will portray the Nigerian army in bad light and by extension soiling your own names and denting your own careers. You should know that whenever you are called upon on any electioneering duty, you must abide by code of conduct for Operation Safe Conduct, which is election duties, and you must be guided by rules of engagement and international best practices, and you must, and I repeat, you must remain neutral and apolitical.
The Nigerian Labour Congress (NLC) has demanded that the federal government immediately revoke the certificate for the organization that had been registered by the Congress of Nigerian University Academics and the Nigerian Association of Medical and Dental Lecturers in Academics as it contravenes labor laws. In a protest letter to the Minister of Labour and Employment, Chris Ngige, the NLC President, Ayuba Wabe, claimed that Nigeria domesticated the ILO Conventions 87 and 98 into its constitutions, particularly Section 40, which protects freedom of association. The Minister of Labour and Employment had on Friday defended the registration of the CONUA and NAMDA as two new university unions. The Academia Staff Union of Universities ASU is set to hold a crucial meeting over the judgment of the appellate court sending its members back to class with immediate effect. The appeal court had ordered the striking lecturers to obey the earlier judgment by the National Industrial Court, which ruled that the union must spend its prolonged industrial action while negotiations continue. ASU President Professor Emmanuel Oshodeke said that the union will review the appeal court's order before it will decide on the next line of action. Now, the Minister of Interior, Rauf Aregbesola, is set to meet with state governors to agree on the mass release of at least 30% of inmates from custodial centers across the country. Aregbesola said that the interface was necessary as more than 90% of the inmates were being held for contravening various state laws. He also said that over 70% of the 75,635 inmates at present were awaiting trial. According to him, some of the awaiting trial inmates have stayed longer than the punishment provided by law for the crime they were arrested for. Meanwhile, the Nigerian Center for Disease Control (NCDC) has revealed that meningitis can be transmitted through coughing, sneezing, and kissing. NCDC said that meningitis is an epidemic-prone disease, with cases reported all year round in Nigeria. The highest burden occurs in the meningitis belt of Africa, south of the Sahara Desert. In Nigeria, the belt includes all 19 northern states, the Federal Capital Territory, and some southern states. Nigeria has recorded 961 suspected cases and 56 deaths of meningitis patients in 32 states, including the Federal Capital Territory, across 159 local government areas so far in 2022. According to the NCDC, the most common symptoms of meningitis are fever, headache, nausea, and vomiting, and also altered consciousness levels. In a few months, Nigerians will be going to the polls. What are expectations for eligible voters? That's on Street Views.
What I see that is happening, people are more enlightened now. So I think 2023 election will not be like the usual election we used to have. People are more enlightened, like I said. So people will want to vote. They will want to go and cast their votes wisely. to the person that will come and alleviate us from all this wahala that we are facing. So that's how I see it in 2023. People will vote. They will want to vote for a candidate that will help to solve so many problems that is facing Nigeria now. Insecurity, lack of food, so many things, bedeviling the nation. So everybody will want to go out there to go and vote for the right candidate, somebody that they feel will be able to deliver Nigeria from all this mess.
The election is going to be somehow, will I say, tough. Because we are having APC as a ruling party. And we are having PDP as opponents. Actually, the church party or the other ones, maybe they are going to pull crowd. But from my own view, I'm not a politician. I've not been involved in all this kind of thing. But my opinion is that anybody that's going to win will win. How will I put it? It's going to win.
We have really trusted on our past leaders, and they have really disappointed us. So therefore, I'm not going to campaign for any party, but they should expect that the youth have woken up now and we are ready to vote this time around. So they should expect what they don't expect. It's not going to be the usual game ball.
How many people that have this PVC? The PVC is the license that guarantees you to vote. At the end of the election, it is the result that matters a lot. Whether there is hanky-panky or there's no hanky-panky, the result matters a lot. It is the degree that makes somebody to sit at that Aso Rock. So, and we are going to bend to that result.
Who I want to vote for? Say, out of the T people, where they are gone. Sure, that's that. Say, if you look, that you want to vote for. I don't want to start to talk there. Oh, yeah. Say, now, Atiku, you want to vote for. That one. Now, you want to vote for. I mean, say, now, Obi, waiting me there. Now, you want like this. I don't expect anything for this country again. Because now, the thing where our grandfather don't talk. It go better. See, up to now, I don't born one. This country never better. Since I die, why they why they inside my mommy womb? They don't talk say it go better. Up to now, I don't born now, it go better. Now, you will not see the sing.
And to other parts of Africa, Chad's National Forum has announced that Mohamed Idris, who took over in April last year, will remain in power during the two-year transition to elections. At a ceremony boycotted by opposition members, leading armed rebel groups and civil society organizations, the Transitional Military Council, which had ruled the country for the past 18 months, was formally dissolved. Despite calls urging the 38-year-old general not to extend the transition and not to run for president in the upcoming elections, the forum ratified Debi's right to vie for the presidency after the transition. Burkina Faso's coup leader, Captain Ibrahim, will convene a National Assembly on October 14th and 15th to appoint a transition charter and most likely a new transitional president. The announcement came after the decree was read on state television. Jihadist militants have killed thousands and forced 2 million to flee their homes since 2015. Now, despite military operations, attacks increased since mid-March and continued to plunge many families into mourning. And outside Africa, Japan's defense ministry has strongly condemned North Korea's firing of 2 ballistic missiles, saying Tokyo will not tolerate the repeated actions. Both missiles reached an altitude of 100 kilometers and covered a range of 350 kilometers, according to Japan's State Minister of Defense. Both missiles are said to have fallen outside Japan's exclusive economic zone. The incident was the 7th such launch since September 25th, according to officials. And in business, the Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria wants Nigerians to be patient as efforts are ongoing to address the current fuel scarcity in some parts of the country. IPMAN Chairman, Northern Nigerian Branch, Bashir Damalim, disclosed that about 200 trucks loaded with the commodity from Calabar across River State were being expected in Abuja and other parts of the northern states for onward distributions to filling stations. And that's the news update. For more stories, please follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And do subscribe to our YouTube channel, Plus TV Africa and Plus TV Africa Lifestyle. You can also view us from Limex and www.limex.tv and Glow TV apps anywhere in the world. I'm Olamide Adeyemi, and thanks for watching.
Life can be fun and rewarding, but it also comes with some risk. As in business, you win some, you lose some. And that's why you need to be wise in the choices you make. It's like placing a bet. Again, you need to be wise. Wise in choosing an innovative platform with the highest market options and highest odds ever. That's why Winners Golden Bet, the leader in online, in-shop, virtual, and live sports betting, gives you enhanced platforms that offer you the best chances of winning. For betting on live soccer matches, live dog races, and virtual games. Winners Golden Bet is your best bet. Instant payment of winnings guaranteed. Play online or in any of our numerous shops nearest to you.
Hey guys, be wise. Play on Winners Golden Bet.
Winners Golden Bet, the wise choice.
Increase the reach of your events or business services. To advertise on Plus TV Africa, please call 0906 000 5719 or 0909 040 8408 or send an email to marketing@plustvafrica.com. Plus TV Africa. Big stories live here.
My leg represents my hand. You know, God is a miracle worker, and nobody's just like, it's only when you want to make yourself a useless person. God sees that I cannot make use of the hand, so He gave me the opportunity to be making use of the leg. My name is Tomaunu. I'm an artist, a landscape painter. I'm from the other state. I love colors a lot. I love playing with colors. My painting mostly based on landscape painting. So since I love colors, I will just think how to mix the colors together to bring out the stuff that I have in mind.
Oftentimes in Nigeria, people with any form of disability are most of the time treated with a certain level of compassion, maybe love, and sometimes pity. Today, I meet Toma, differently abled person, and she shares her story of strength, of courage, and resilience with me.
My leg represents my hand, you know. This thing that I believe that God do. God is a miracle worker, and nobody's just like, it's only when you want to make yourself a useless person. God sees that I cannot make use of the hand, so He gave me the opportunity to be making use of the leg. So I use the leg to feed myself. I use it to operate my phone. I use it to do so many things that I can do.
Toma is not defined by her situation, but fiercely and graciously used her gift to express herself.
Painting is just like my voice. Majority of my painting is just expressing yourself through colors, just appreciating the nature also.
This is her work. She used this leg to paint, but she didn't use the handle. I'm telling mo dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ Ọlọ́run gidi gan pé ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ mi gan tó ń lo ọwọ́ gan tó máa bẹ́ tàwọn times 100. Kò kí ń ṣọ̀lẹ, ó dẹ̀ ṣe kò kí ń ṣọ̀lẹ, kò dẹ̀ kí ń ṣọmọ tó yẹ pé bó ṣe ó máa ń rí iṣẹ́ ó máa ń sá sẹ́yìn, kò kí ń fi iṣẹ́ ṣeré bó ṣe wà yìí, iṣẹ́ kò kí ń fi ṣeré, ó tẹ́ lọ́rùn kó ná last kobo lórí iṣẹ́ yẹn, tó bá ná last kobo lórí iṣẹ́ yẹn, á fi iṣẹ́ yẹn á fi pè owó jáde.
God has given her a kind of knowledge that is beyond human understanding. Despite that, she cannot make use of her hand to write and paint, but she can use her leg to paint very well. And by the time she has finished the painting, people just be looking at her that she see the one that has done it. Even majority normally argue, especially the visitor, that they don't normally believe that she's the one until when she started doing it in their presence. That's the time they go to believe. And people that used to come here, they normally appreciate her by trying as much as possible to buy some of her painting.
If you look at so many of my paintings, it's based on nature. Why I say so is that, God is the greatest artist, and everything he did is perfect. And if you look at the sky day by day, you think there's so many beauty.
But just how did Toma discover this giftedness of hers?
Actually, it was a friend of mine that brought out the gift in me. She saw me feeding the children with my leg. So she said, we can do something better than feeding the children with my leg. So she was the one that God used for me.
With the help of an assistant assembling her painting tools, Toma demonstrates her painting skills while sharing the emotions and relief painting brings to her.
Sometimes I don't believe that I was the one that did it. It's a little bit difficult for me to believe that the works are done by me. My own painting gives me an assurance that I can still give back to society. Why I say so is that, when I was still much younger, I thought I'm not useful. Let me use it, because I could not use the art and every other thing. So I was just thinking that, how are you going to do this?
Toma shares her challenges, not focusing on it as a stumbling block, but she sets the tone on the positive as she reveals the hurdles of her life's journey.
According to a proverb that said, no pain, no gain about life. Life is full of challenges, and the one we live, the one we see them around. Talking about the challenges, the first time in school, I will never forget it. At the first time in school, I went to Akoka Junior High School, or junior school. But the first time I went to that school, when I went to go meet the principal, that I went with some of the staff here, and when we got there, the principal does not know that I understand Yoruba. He said something that, why do they bring someone like her to school? And that she's not supposed to be in school. All she needs is just for you to put her somewhere to be eating until God says. I have to say something that, sir, may the good Lord have mercy on you. He was shocked. He could not believe that I heard what he said. I just thank God for the owner of the challenges, because he owns the key to every challenge. And he makes the way when there seems to be no way. I give glory to God, because if not for him, I don't know what could have happened to me. So many challenges. And, there's this thing that keeps me going that said, if there's no challenges, there will not be testimony. I faced a lot.
In spite of Toma's visible challenges, Toma has a positive outlook towards life and the people she comes in contact with. Her caregiver and one of her teachers revealed the other aspects of Toma.
Toma jẹ́ ọmọ kan tó jẹ́ pé kọ̀ra mọ́yàn, ó dẹ̀ kó gbogbo ìyànjú kò kọ́ra, ó ń bọ́mọdé ṣe, ó ń bá gbà ṣe, gbogbo àwọn òṣìṣẹ́ gan, ó ní ibi kọ̀ọ̀kan tó ti máa ń dùn wọn nú. Ó jẹ́ pé èèyàn tó jẹ́ pé bó ṣe wà yẹn kò mọ bó ṣe ń hide feelings ẹ̀ tí nǹkan bá ti ń dùn bá ó máa sọ ń pé alágbádá bá ó dẹ̀ ṣẹ̀ mí o, ó dẹ̀ ti tán nínú ẹ̀, kò mọ bó ṣe ń báyàn yànjú. Ó jẹ́ ọmọ alálùbáríkà, mo gbàdúrà kọ́ lọ bá mi pèsè ọkọ alálùbáríkà fún kọ́ iṣẹ́ kó má di ṣẹ̀mọ̀ lọ́wọ́.
She's the type that wants just to move close because of behavior, attitude, characters, and the kind of love that she used to show to people. The way God has created her, we thank God because it's unquestionable God. I just thank God for her life because despite the fact that her disability, she can prove to the whole world that she can still do certain things as far as her condition is being concerned. She loves everybody because I recollect that yearly as a staff of this school, especially women, I don't know, maybe it's doing it with the women too, she used to present us a gift as men in this school, no matter how token it is.
She tells me the place of God in her life, making her achieve more than she can imagine.
God is my strength. You know, God is a wonderful God that despite what you're going through, you will surely find a way to make you smile. You will surely find. Though the world may tell you that you are not this, you are not that. But as long as you have this God, you will surely find a way to make you happy. My strength is from God. My joy is from God. Everything is from God. Despite everything that you're going through, everybody goes through a lot in this country, Nigeria. All you just need to tell yourself is that I can make it. I can do it. And just keep on smiling. By the time God works, you won't know. You will just be asking yourself, is it me? Am I wrong? Just put your trust in God and try to do the little things that you know how to do. Don't give up on yourself. Don't give up on God, especially if you give up on yourself, people will give up on you.
And what's more, this 28-year-old lady challenged once again the thought of entertaining self-pity.
I used to feel pity for myself, but not anymore, because God has given me the strength. God has shown me that despite my challenges, I can still go places. By giving me the opportunity to paint with my leg, by giving me the opportunity to show that there is ability in disability.
Well, not much is known about the condition data-wise, and so according to a 2018 article from The Guardian, there are more than 100,000 cases of cerebral palsy in Nigeria, with most affected individuals in need of care due to cerebral palsy effect on functional abilities. But more alarming is a recent data according to Benola Initiative, an initiative aimed at creating awareness on cerebral palsy in Nigeria. The condition affects 17 million persons worldwide and over 700,000 in Nigeria alone. Whereas that data claims a huge number of people live with cerebral palsy, what is more unnerving is that half that number may likely wallow in self-pity. Toma has proven to be an exception, full of life, deep in thoughts and full of cheers.
Wow.
Emotional, she recalls her journey to education and how having a degree remained her most joyful day.
Every day whenever I wake up, I always ask for something that God should give me joy. That's what all the challenges. The day that I finished my NC program, even before that day, I will just sit in the hostel, start screaming, start shouting, start singing. But on the day that I finished my NC, I was just like, are you sure that I finished? Are you sure that I finished? And when I always say, oh, what marry girl? I said, are you sure that it is Toma? She said it is you. So the day that I finished, I did my last paper. I Do I have another playground? I was just asking myself that do I have another playground? They said no. And since from the exam up to my hostel, I was just shouting. As in, I can't believe it that it was me.
Thank you very much.
Thank you too.
That was great.
High five.
Thank you. Oh, high five! Woo! This is beautiful. Let me again. Thank you so very much for having us. Thank you so very much. Thank you so very
Useful insight for people who may want to get into particular industries now.
Yeah.
I'm completely, I've done with my architectural studies in school, and I'm thinking I want to be on my own. I don't want to start with maybe one of the big names. I just want to see what I can do in my own little sphere. What advice would you really give to someone who wants to be an entrepreneur in architecture with all of the technologies, the 3D designs and the modeling and the rendering you're talking about? What should he be looking at?
Okay, where 3D design has also given an opportunity for employment was where I did my IT initially. I realized that we could be done with a design, but the company we were contracting 3Ds to were not even an architecture firm. Yeah, they were just graphic designers.
Oh, wow.
3D graphics and all that, and they were eating a lot of money. That was what was happening. So I would really implore that you improve on your 3D design, improve on it. You can work in those firms to gather experience, because sometimes your designs cannot be better than what you've seen. You know, there are hardly any new ideas. Even what we call new ideas are modified old ideas.
Mm-hmm.
So if there are no old ideas to modify, you understand? So I'd advise, take 1 year, 2 years, work with these firms, go look around, see a couple of places. You know, it will really enforce what you're doing. Then always check what is going on in the outside world, so you don't become a local champion. Then when you improve on your 3D modeling, also don't expect that they'll start to pay you the big bucks all of a sudden. Put your works out there, get to work for people, get referrals. If you keep doing more work than you are paid for, at some point you start getting paid more than the work that you are doing.
Okay, but on the general terms,
yes,
a profession, a career in architecture, is it rewarding? Is it worth the while financially?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Yes, it is if you are patient. You have to be patient, especially it's not just knowing, I'm a professional, this is what entails professionally. You should, as an architect, you should be adaptable, and you should know where you are at. This is Nigeria. Come on, you're not some other place, and all that. We're still growing in our respect for professionals, and it doesn't just deal with architects, lawyers, you see, engineers, and so many. As a lawyer, is it every person you meet as you do an agreement for that would pay you 5 or 10%? You know, they negotiate a lot of these things. So, and if you're going to be staunch and not say you're not open-minded to all of these things, so at a point, that would happen. You have to grow, you have to pay your dues, but you know what, always have a plan. This is where I want to be in 2 to 3 years, and work towards the plan.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, thank you so much, Benedict, for sharing this useful insight and all of the thought on architecture, 3D modeling, rendering, and all of that on the show. Do appreciate your time.
Thank you. It's wonderful being here.
All right. It's still Business Insight on Plus TV Africa. We've been speaking with Benedict Ebe, architect and 3D interior designer. He is with Afri-Beni Works Nigeria Limited. Now, as we round off, the essence of collaboration and knowledge sharing to educate and empower Africans on trends and possibilities of the future of work and businesses has been brought to the fore. That this was the focus at the inauguration of the Knowledge Digest Africa Conference, aimed at building the continent's largest one-stop digital knowledge bank. Take a look.
Digest Africa, Africa's one-stop digital knowledge banking platform.
It has often been said that most businesses die not necessarily from lack of funds, but as a result of dearth of fresh ideas, new technologies, and facts to ensure productivity. It is against this backdrop that this digital knowledge bank has been put together. In her keynote address, Commissioner for Education in Lagos State, Folashade Adefisayo, emphasizes the place of collaboration. The founder of the Digest, Samson Olatunde, who speaks about his passion for the past 15 years, says the country must leverage emerging digital technology to produce employees of labor for the 21st century.
Look at the synergy that you can get from you using online platforms. How many people can you teach in a class? 30, 40, 50. How many people can you teach online? Millions. So I think that by, because there's a masterclass component of it, and there's also the fact that there's a market component of it. How many people enter a bookshop to buy a book? But how many people go online to buy a book? So I think it's a great initiative, and I hope many people will tap into it.
We believe that many people are struggling with the implementation because they probably expect knowledge from a developed country. And then many things are structured in a developed country, unlike our country that is developing and other African countries. So we felt, why can't we look for business leaders, executive career professionals who have been there for over a decade, right? They've gone through a lot in their country, in the industry, so they'll be able to share experiences and help many people connect more to navigate in terms of maybe they want to start their business, they want to sustain their business, they want to scale up their business, or most importantly, they want to build a system around their business, which is saving them stress, time, energy, and money. System saves you stress, time, energy, and money. And the whole idea of Knowledge Digest Africa is going to be a collaboration with other young tech guys, people in different industry from educational sector.
You want to be the consultant, so yes, how do you think everybody will consult for?
Other speakers share their thoughts on the need for a digital bank, including the immediate past president of the Chartered Institute of Bankers of Nigeria, who gives useful insight on the need to create transgenerational wealth.
Most businesses that would die within the first 2, 3, 4 years. And if you are able to sustain a business beyond 10 years, then it makes sense that you try as much as possible that business outlives you.
Ecosystem thinking means I'm not the sole provider of a solution, okay? I get in touch with people who have like minds, people who can actually augment whatever product that I'm developing such that it moves from being a product into a solution. That way, first you can reduce your cost of delivery because other people are imputing to the cost of delivery. 2, you can have a faster route to market that way because a lot of people are bringing in expertise that you don't have on your own alone.
The information on the platform shows commitment towards providing digital learning in line with the digital policy of the federal government. And that's the size of the show for this week. I am Justin Akadonye. See you again next time. Bye for now.
It's World Breastfeeding Week. We'll look at the significance and aim of this global observance spearheaded by the World Alliance for Breastfeeding Action, the World Health Organization, and UNICEF, amongst others. Will privatizing Nigeria's public hospitals be the solution to the issues in its health system? The Nigerian Medical Association says so. Its national president joins us this morning at breakfast to talk about this. And of course, we have in-depth analysis on the headlines contained in today's national dailies in Off the Press. A very good morning to you. It's a brand new edition of The Breakfast, a beautiful Tuesday morning. We're reaching you live from the studios on Victoria Island, Lagos. My name is Kofi Bartels. Let's dive straight into the action right here on the program, where I look at the top trending stories that we have for you. We have three in particular. As we've been monitoring the conversations on the social space, the first one up, Bello Yabo praying for the abduction of President Muhammadu Buhari, Governor of Kaduna State El Rufai, as well as the presidential aide Garba Shehu. Who is Bello Yabo? I mean, the name has been going around with lots of responses and reactions to this. He happens to be an Islamic cleric. Of course, he's a Sokoto-based Islamic cleric, and he prayed for the abduction of President Buhari, like we said earlier. Now, if you remember, some terrorists had kidnapped the passengers on the Kaduna-bound train, released a video last week showing them meting out corporal punishment on victims and also threatening to kidnap the president of Nigeria, the governor of Kaduna State, whom you're seeing on your screen as well. They also threatened to kidnap some of the Nigerian lawmakers if they did not comply with the terrorists' demands. And of course, in response to this video, presidential spokesman Garba Shehu had said that the terrorist activity using propaganda and the use of violence to force governments to accept or submit to political demands is not new all over the world. You know, that is what he said. But the cleric was responding to the statement by Garba Shehu, who is seen there in a picture with the president. He flagged the presidential spokesman for describing this terrorist video, as propaganda. He now went on to accuse Garba Shehu of being insensitive to the plight of the captives, by releasing such a statement, and went on to pray that Garba Shehu himself will fall into the hands of the kidnappers. So this is the point he's coming from. He thinks that Garba Shehu, through his statement, or by his statement in reaction to the terrorist threat to kidnap the president, is being insensitive to the plight of the captives. Now, he said, quote, this is what the cleric Yabo said, quote, "I pray they kidnap you, Garba Shehu, and demonstrate as propaganda." These are his words. All right. So, but he appealed to terrorists to release the innocent victims in captivity, but went on to wish the terrorists success in their threats to kidnap those they threatened. This is quite bizarre. It's a bit ironical. Now, these were his words. Quote, "We're praying for you, kidnappers. May God grant you success in carrying out your threats to kidnap those people. But please release the innocent people in captivity. If this were the kind of people you've been abducting all this while, we wouldn't have bothered ourselves. We would instead pray and bless you because they have become a disaster to us." This is what the cleric whom you've seen on your screen said. He said, "These are people who promised heaven and earth, and now they have the opportunity but became incompetent. Take them to the bush and flog them instead of humiliating innocent citizens who are striving to make ends meet." The cleric goes on to say, "And please make good your threats, and we will support you with our prayers." He's visibly angry there. He was a staunch supporter of the president before he became a cleric. And this is sort of mirroring the sentiments and the views, the reactions, seen in different parts of the North, even from the bandits who are saying they wish they can lay their hands on the president. It shows that, the long-held view that northern Nigeria is just supporting everything that the administration is doing. It's not really true. I mean, if you're looking at the price of gas or fuel, it's the same in the north as it is in the south. Looking at the inflation in the economy, it's the same in the south as it is in the north. If you're looking at the falling naira, it's the same in the north as it is in the south. If you look at insecurity, it's more affecting more the north than the south. That's why you're having a lot of refugees on the streets of Lagos from the northern part of the country. These are the issues. And if you watch your videos, interviews, documentaries flying around, you see the people up north are really going through hell. And they are angry with the current administration. All right? In this matter, there's no brother here. They are angry. I mean, if you remember, it was a surprise to some when Northern Elders Forum came out a year or two ago to criticize the president. So it's clear that it's gone beyond the issue of my brother, or my brother, as some will say. It's no longer a time of my brother. This time, people are saying, you know what, we want to talk to the issues. If it's affecting us, then it doesn't matter who is there. We will criticize and we'll speak out. So it's I think it's a sarcastic one from the gentleman cleric, who is saying, go ahead and kidnap those who made life difficult for us. Let go those who are struggling to make ends meet. They're not the problem. We'll help you. We'll pray for you. We'll support you. We want to see you flog these people, is what he's saying. And of course, this seems to be, from the responses I've seen, by some people, especially in the social space, a popular view, because the average man on the street in this country feels the government is his or her problem. They feel that the president is the one responsible for all their problems in their life. So, I mean, this view will fly. But especially on a serious note, though, with the state of affairs, people wouldn't complain if anybody in government, no matter what office it is kidnapped. They'll say, yeah, at least you have a taste of medicine. I mean, look at Ekwe Madu with his ordeals in the UK. A number of persons online were happy and said, well, he deserves it because he's in government in a way. So people feel that those in government should have a taste of what the citizens are going through. So no surprises that he's received some support for his view. All right, let's move on. The next one, of course, when it came out that ASU was having a meeting, let's call it a marathon meeting, we kept watching to see what statement was put out by the organization, especially on their social media accounts, which have become one of the means and mediums through which they communicate to the public. And indeed, they came out to announce, this is the National Executive Council of the Academic Staff Union of Universities, Nigeria's Universities Lecturers Union, that a 4-week extension to the ongoing strike will commence. They're commencing a 4-week extension to the ongoing strike in public universities. Now, they made a statement, shared it on social media, but it was a statement, released by the union, which read in part, quote, following the extensive deliberations and taking into cognizance government's past failures to abide by its own timelines in addressing issues raised in the 2020 FG and ASU MOU, or MOA rather, that's Memorandum of Action, NEC resolved that the strike be rolled over for 4 weeks to give government more time to satisfactorily resolve all outstanding issues. That's a very nice way of saying we continue that strike. So that's that. The rollover strike, they say, is with effect from 12:01 a.m. That's yesterday, August 1. So this is where we are as far as the strike is concerned. And of course, we're not just now grappling with the strike itself. We're also having to think about a national industrial action by the Nigeria Labour Congress. And if care is not taken, the Trade Union Congress, who is saying that they will embark on a strike, a 3-day strike. This is not a protest. The one that happened last week was a protest. The one that is coming next is a strike. They will down tools in the entire country for 3 days if the federal government does not give ASU what they want. So ASU is simply saying, I think it's a diplomatic way of putting things, that they want to give the federal government more time. I mean, they could have easily given the government more time, by going back to the classroom. I mean, you still give them time, but they're simply saying we are not going to resume until you give us what we want. So it's the suffering of Nigerian students continues. I think the private universities will be smiling to the bank. Of course, the foreign university will be smiling to the bank. The Naira will keep struggling because you have to get these monies, US dollars to pay for, and pounds to pay for those who want to go to school abroad. A lot of people now, for them, the only option for their children is to fly them out of the country to school. Just fly them anywhere. Or you get a private university admission for your child. But what happens to the indigent children, the ones who can't afford, to go to private universities? Parents can't take them to private institutions. What happens to them? I mean, many of these people in authority today, in positions of power in the country, benefited from one scholarship or the other, which were quite common in their day. This time you have to pay, even to go to a public institution. All right, but to even attend that public institution is a problem because of the inconsistencies, and it's a sad one. The president of Nigeria had made a statement when he went to his country home for the Salah holidays to, say he understands what the parents are going through. He tried to paint a picture of what parents and teachers students are going through. Somehow even speaking for them, but you begin to wonder if you're speaking for them, you're the one who has the solution. So what are you saying? But another question, the Minister of Labor and Productivity, Senator Dr. Chris Ngige, last week again came out to say the federal government is broke and cannot afford to pay ASU the nearly 1 trillion naira they are demanding. Should ASU take a step back? Should ASU look at a way of giving the federal government some alternatives? You can't have everything sometimes in negotiations. You look for a way to find a compromise, or will ASU stick its ground and say give us nearly 1 trillion naira, and then we will go back to the classroom. The federal government is broke, is what they're saying. They cannot afford this money. Interestingly, the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria had told the Minister of Education to take over the negotiations with the union. And of course, this was led or spearheaded by the Minister of Labor and Employment. All this while it hasn't yielded any result. Let's see what happens in the next 4 weeks if ASU will go back to the classroom if this situation can be resolved. That's the size of a top trending segment right here on The Breakfast. We'll be back, and when we return, we'll look at what the newspapers are saying today. Please stay with us. Welcome back. It's still The Breakfast on Plus TV Africa. We have interesting headlines on the front pages of the national dailies, and it's time to dive straight into them. Of course, our guest usually on Tuesdays is Chris Kende-Wandu, the Executive Director of the African Governance and Leadership Initiative, and he'll be joining us in a matter of seconds or minutes. All right, so let's get straight into the first newspaper. The first one, of course, we have the Leadership newspaper, and interesting headlines. Paper going, giving its leading headline to coverage of the INEC voter registration. And of course, this is an interesting one with a kicker PVC registration deadline. As INEC registers 2.8 million in 1 month, pressure mounts for extension. That's coming in the Leadership. As INEC registers 2.8 million in 1 month, pressure mounts for extension. The riders to that. Commission insists on deadline, says law allows it. CSOs urge electoral body to review position, says millions will be disenfranchised. 80% of new registrants are youth. Institute. Okay, you can read some more to know which institute that is referring to. But of course, is this going to continue ad infinitum, like Festus Okoye would normally say? Is there no end in sight? When will it be enough? When will it be enough? When can INEC now focus on preparing for the election? When do these CSOs want INEC to stop. I don't know if they've given a date, but the truth is that INEC cannot continue, indefinitely. It just can't. All right, let's go on to more headlines from the leadership. At the top of that front page, again, ASU extends strike by 4 weeks. Varsity students kick. And the picture there of the ASU national president. Varsity students kicking. Would it change anything? Chris Kennedy will tell us what he thinks when he is with us. Bandits kill 7, abduct 15 Plateau. Kaduna, really sad one. Bandits kill 7, abduct 15 Plateau, Kaduna states. Really sad one there. Battle over NDDC board appointment rages. Pandev slams politicians. Battle over NDDC board appointment rages. Pandev slams politician. The paper says that the Pan-Niger Delta Forum has blamed top politicians' wrong attitude over the years for the lackluster impact of the Niger Delta Development Commission to the region, as some politicians or political gladiators in the ruling party, the All Progressives Congress, the paper says, from the South-South zone are still battling to influence the appointment of their cronies into the board of the commission. That's what the paper is saying. You can read more on that on page 7 of the leadership. More from the paper. UBA names Alabua as new GMD, appoints DMD EDs. The bank is taking some picture space on several papers, and I think their money is working for them. Of course, they are on TV. All right. Naseni partners Czech Republic to develop agriculture. Commonwealth Games. Yusuf picks Nigeria's 4th medal. It's medal galore for Nigeria at the Commonwealth Games. The country, doing quite well. But we need more. We need more. We need more. And of course, the women are leading the way as far as the medal haul is concerned. That should really give us some food for thought in this part of the world. Final one from the leadership. PDP Board of Trustees meets on Atiku, Wike, others tomorrow. Let's see if they can have any result as far as Wike is concerned. Quite interesting. Over to the Nation. With the leading headline on the front page of the Nation this morning, Northwest, Southwest lead on voter registration. Northwest, Southwest lead in voter registration. Of course, yesterday we did some analysis of this, and it was said that the North was lagging behind the South in total registrations. But when it comes to the individual states, the individual geopolitical zones, if you want to call it that, though that is not in the Constitution of Nigeria, you have these two leading. I think for the Southwest, Lagos; for the Northwest, Kano. All right. More from the Nation newspaper this morning. Explains surge in crime. Minister challenges security agencies. Explains surge in crime. Minister challenges security agencies. And you can see a picture of Issa Pantami, Minister of Communications and the Digital Economy. All right. More from the Nation. Kaduna residents flee as gunmen abduct over 50. My oh my, Kaduna State again. Police beef up security in Oyo, Ondo, Ekiti. PDP, BOT to mediate in Atiku Wike face off. All right. Intrigues as Amechi Akpabio Silva battle for control of NDDC. Don't come home until Kanu is released. IPOB tells Abuja-based Southeast politicians. So even Einaya Bible can't go home after all he has done. I mean, standing surety for the man. Well, we'll talk some more about that with our guest. Knocks for federal government ASU over extension of strike. Interesting one. More from the paper. Rumpus over planned conduct of a council poll in Osun. OPEC SecGen Al-Gaiz resumes. Some headlines on the front page of the Nation. Over to the Punch, and a quite colorful front page has these headlines. The leading one there: planned attacks, police strategize, and NSCDC warns as terrorists infiltrate South. And I don't know, maybe the NSCDC should have I added to its name, the I there standing for intelligence, because the NSCDC seems to be the one giving the intelligence reports, the security reports these days. I'd like to know what the secret is, the secret formula to this new and interesting development, or let's call it new improved NSCDC. Let's go again. Planned attacks, police strategize, NSCDC warns as terrorists infiltrate South. And with the following writers: Lagos CP, area tactical commanders hold emergency meeting, call for vigilance. FRSC declares a war on unregistered motorcycles. Arewa youth demand NSA's sacking. All right, and 7,222 killed, 3,823 abducted in 7 months, Omotekun advises residents. For the FRSC, declaring war on unregistered motorcycles, I do not know if they would also find their way to the savannah parts of Abuja, you know, the mountainous areas and the bushy areas, the forests of Kaduna, to also speak to the bandits and challenge them over the unregistered motorcycles as well. You know, because sometimes you wonder if the aim is to fight, to also add their voice, or let's put it in a local way, put their mouth into this, you know, banditry and terrorism talk, FRSC. I mean, what good does it do if you were just talking about the unregistered bikes in Lagos, you know, in Port Harcourt and other parts of the country? The problem is banditry. So if you want to do it, you have to do it well. So are they going to go to the bushes of Zambiza, Kaduna, and other places to also, you know, do their job? Well, I just hope that, you know, the average man on the street will not be victimized because of this. Just hope that nobody will be victimized because of this. More from the Punch. FG plans 712 billion naira mortgage to fund 100,000 houses. You know, this is on page 21. Sometimes when you see these amounts these days and you see FG side by side, hundreds of billions, you have to skip a beat because, of course, we know that, like Ngige said, the federal government is broke. Let's go on. Northwest, Southwest lead as INEC registers 96.2 million. Of course, we're all waiting for the official figures to drop, and the papers now have that material, that content, let's call it that, and they're making good material from that with the analysis and reports of the figures coming from INEC. The riders to that: Lagos, Kano, Kaduna, Rivers, Katsina, top 31 other states. Youth make up 71% of new voters. Women outnumber men. Women outnumber men as far as the voting, the newly registered voters are concerned. Quite interesting. Very interesting indeed. More from the Punch. Wike, PDP BOT meets Wednesday, plans peace panel. All right. I hope the man will be around for them when they want to visit him, you know, because, of course, he's been traveling a lot these days. More from the Punch. After 168-day strike, ASU issues a 4-week extension. A 4-week extension. Buhari lacks ability to tackle insecurity, Katsina NNPP chairman. Health workers fault non-payment of new hazard allowance.
Well, made the revelation in Abuja on Tuesday at a press conference after the inspection of Atiku's campaign offers. He said the campaign of his party is going to be issue-based, adding that the candidate of the PDP is presenting in 2023 are providing solutions with their plans. Joining us live to discuss this is Borono Bassey, PDP Publicity Secretary at Akwa Ibom State. We're glad to have you join us on the program, Mr. Bassey.
Good evening to you. Good evening, viewers. It's good to be here.
Okay. Well, now we can say finally the campaign is kicking off formally. How prepared are you to carry out this campaign?
Well, thank you very much. It's good to be here once again. For us in Akwa Ibom State and for us as the People's Democratic Party in Nigeria, we are very prepared for the flag off of the campaigns which is scheduled to hold in Uyo, the Akwa Ibom State capital, on Monday. Now, the interesting thing about this campaign to be flagged off in Uyo is the fact that right from the return of democracy in Nigeria, Akwa Ibom State has been privileged, to be led or be governed by people who are elected by the People's Democratic Party in Nigeria. So Nigerians are coming to Uyo, to the Akwa Ibom State capital, for them to actually tell Nigerians, the message to Nigeria that the infrastructure, the expansive infrastructure, the development that has been erected by the PDP-led government in Akwa Ibom State is possible for us to replicate that in Nigeria. And for us, the message is going to be clear. Excellency, the presidential candidate of our party, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, has promised, and is Nigerian a robust, turnaround in terms of the economy, in terms of the governance, that from what we are experiencing now, and that promise is distilled into his covenant statement with Nigerians. And so we're expecting that when Nigerians shall gather, when the whole of the attention of Nigerians shall be focused in Uyo, Akwa Ibom State, and we shall be telling that the time is right for us to take our destinies into our hands and then return the PDP back to the national level so that we can build and rescue this country, this economy that has been so bad, that has been so bastardized by the APC government.
Are you saying that's what informed the choosing of Akwa Ibom State to be where this campaign is going to be flagged off, that Akwa Ibom has done well for the people and that is what you want to showcase to the entire Nigerians, or there are other reasons why they are flagging off, or you are flagging off this campaign in Uyo?
Yes, you heard me correctly. The truth has remained that since the return of democracy in 1999, Akwa Ibom State has privileged. Akwa Ibom people have chosen to stay with the People's Democratic Party. And that choice has brought a lot of development strides for the people. And so the choice, I said that the choice of Uyo as the venue for the official flag of the PDP campaigns is very apt, because the truth is, even in the past 7.5 years, the man whom we have been privileged to lead us, His Excellency Mr. Dom Emmanuel, has erected various pillars of development across the critical sectors of this state's economy. And so when we gather in Uyo on Monday, we shall be telling Nigerians that what the PDP has done in Akwa Ibom State is possible for us to repeat. And, His Excellency Atiku Abubakar is one gentleman who is prepared and has the political will, to lead this nation at this critical moment. And, he's promised, to some of the things he has said, since he emerged, as the presidential candidate of our party, he said that he to restore Nigeria's economy back to the pre-2015 level, where Nigeria was Africa's strongest economy with of 546.7 billion. And he's also promised to strengthen Nigeria's educational system and also equip our students with skills needed to be competitive in the new global order, driven by innovation, science, and technology, among all the other things that he's promised. And so we're hoping that Nigerians will be prepared at this time to take their destiny in their hands and then say, never again shall we go, in the direction, that we shall move forward with the PDP as we march towards rescuing this nation from the pangs of insecurity, from the pangs of misgovernance, which this nation has unfortunately deployed.
Okay, well, we will go back to come back to the person of Atiku Abubakar later on. But now you're going into this campaign. It's starting on Monday. Yet we hear that PDP seems to be going into this campaign as a divided house. We can also have feelers that the meeting between your principal and the Wike camp, as we have known them, the Big Five, or whatever name they are calling themselves right now, ended in deadlock. So how do you think you're going to succeed when your house is divided, or have you resolved all the differences? Let us have that inside information into that.
Well, for Nigerians who have been following the little misunderstandings that we've had as a party, they would also come to agree that we're making very commendable steps in trying to resolve these issues. And don't forget that the peculiarity of our party, has been that we've always had a way to sit on the table and then see how we can talk about these issues and resolve these issues. So the series of meetings that we've had, although, we're trying to also, arrive at the consensus that favors all the parties, the meetings that we've had shows that we're making efforts. And I assure you that in the days to come, that we will come back together and then all the issues to address, all the people who feel aggrieved at this time, will come together so that together we can face the patriotic call by Nigerians for us to come and rescue this nation.
Well, you sound very, very confident in the PDP in resolving issues. And this also was how PDP sounded very confident before the 2015 election. The biggest political party, the biggest this and that you're going to be in office or you're going to be in power for about 50 years or above. And still, you couldn't make any headway from 2015 till now. Do you think this confidence is enough to give you the edge over the other parties, especially the ruling party right now?
Well, for us, as a party, all the stakeholders spoken, and the message has been clear that as the party, we have learned lessons, when we left power at the national level in 2015. And so those lessons are very fresh in our memories. And for us, what we intend to do at this time, and you would agree with me that the fact we're not telling people who have genuine grievances off, that, we need all of our people to, and, it will interest you to know that as a party that has, that has the name people giving its name, it means that our people have been our strength, our people have been our core source of strength. And so we cannot, as we mark 2023, we cannot tell them off. And so that's why we're meeting. We're trying to reach out to everyone. You see the presidential candidate trying to meet with a lot of people, trying to see how we can, get everyone on the table so that together we can march forward. And so this is not about mounting confidence. It's about the fact that we're making efforts to ensure that together we move together and, face the patriotic duty that Nigeria are hoping PDP for.
Okay, what are these main issues that you intend to address in the course of the campaign? I do not want to go back to the issues you are trying to address, why you have these factions in the first place. But in the course of this campaign, like the president has said, he has begged practically every politician to make sure that the campaigns are issue-based. What are these issues that PDP will be bringing to the front burner during the course of this campaign?
Well, the 2023 election for us, from the blinders that we've seen it, is going to be a referendum on, the direction on where Nigeria go in 2020. And so for us, as the party, the presidential candidate of our party, His Excellency Haji Atiku Abubakar, has promised, and those promises have made several to Nigerians, and those promises are distilled into a policy document, my covenant with Nigerians. And by way of presenting you with some overview of that, what he's promised, he's promised that he's going to address the vexed issue of the structure. And, it is the belief of our party and the belief of our presidential candidate collectively. We do believe that if we take some of the, focus of the federal government out from where it's currently looking at now and try to strengthen, the center and then also give powers to the other tiers of government. That there are priorities, that the other priority areas addressed for the collective progress of this nation. And His Excellency Atiku Abubakar in that document has also promised to promote strong, effective democratic government to guarantee safety of lives and properties. Of course, you would agree with me that never has there been a time in our nation, in the history of our nation, that our country has been so overwhelmed by insecurity, with functions of the state usurped by bandits, insurgents, separatists. He's promised to ensure that he promotes an effective democratic government to guarantee the safety of properties of Nigerians. And also, he's also promised to build a dynamic economy driven by the core of collective prosperity, and then also provide qualitative education and all of those other promises. And so we're trusting that the Nigerians will trust us like they did prior to 2015, so that together we can work together, into a new Nigeria, which together we can prosper together.
Okay, all of us desire a new Nigeria. This is a final question to you now. All of us desire a new Nigeria, but almost everything we suffer in Nigeria has been tied to corruption. Corruption in the education sector, corruption even in security, corruption everywhere. And when you talk about Atiku as being tested and trusted, someone who has brought so many gains to Nigeria, the Nigerian people wonder what you really mean. Because his closest examiner, who was his employer, as it were, the former president, Olusegun Obasanjo, doesn't seem to see him as someone who is trustworthy. So if the rest of us were just looking on and the person who knew him more than everybody else says he's not trustworthy, why should Nigerians now trust him to carry the mantle and carry us to the promised land?
Well, the truth remains that His Excellency Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, the presidential candidate of the PDP, will be coming to the job as president in Nigeria, God's willing, and with the support and massive Nigerians in 2023, with a track record of the way he handled the economy of this nation, and the administration he was part of handled the economy of this nation between the years of 1999 and 2007. I should actually rely on the indices that we have on ground and the question that Nigerians, are asking themselves for all the millions, hundreds of millions of Nigerians who support the Atiku candidacy is the fact that how did we fare when, during the years of 1999 and 2000, Atiku was vice president? How did we fare under that administration? And this is a critical question that that has informed the massive love and the massive acceptance that His Excellency's Atiku Abubakar presidential bid is getting. Because the truth is, we must get to a point in this country where we talk about track records. We look at what happened when you were on the saddle. And so, although I would not, try to question the remarks by His Excellency President Olusegun Obasanjo, but the truth is, the indices that when we look back at where we've come from 1999 to 2007, especially those years when His Excellency Atiku Abubakar served as vice president and was actively, involved in managing the economy of this nation, we would actually agree that we were better off. And so he will be coming to the job, but God willing, in 2023, and with the support of Nigerians, with the benefit of those experiences, that huge experience, the political will, and of course, the wealth of experience gathered all through the years.
In the coming weeks, in the coming days, Nigerians will be interrogating his personality, his integrity, and every other thing. This is just a peep into what people might be asking. But we're concerned. You have so much confidence, but there seem to be not just the ruling All Progressives Congress that you have to contend with, there seems to be a third force that is coming up. Are you threatened by this third force?
Well, to be very honest with you, as a party, the PDP is not really threatened, given the history and the journey that we've had with the key players in the third force. Recall that somewhere when there was a time, in the history of this nation, when the key players, when some members of the key players of this third force who make elections to were actually members of our party, and they had so much belief in themselves and in the ability and the political will, the experience level of His Excellency Atiku Abubakar to lead an administration of collective prosperity and economic growth. And so it puts to question, the fact that at this point, though they have decided to break away and form a third force, is actually, the concern that people who have sat analogical enough and would ask the right questions, would actually believe that this is actually the direction to go.
Okay, well, we hope to still talk to you some other time and ask you how you're faring so far. But for now, this is the much we can take from you, and we'd like to thank you for being a part of our show today. We know that your schedule is very tight now, especially now that you're preparing for the flag off. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'd like to also use this platform to invite all Nigerians to Uyo, the Akwa Ibom State capital, on Monday. And that event is happening on the Nest of Champions. And I also invite you so that it's best for you to be on ground so that you can get to, from the mouth of the presidential candidate of our party.
All right. Thank you so much. Well, thank you for staying with us. We'll take a short break now. And when we return, the APC is yet to flag off its campaign. We'll be talking about that. Stay with us. We're glad to know you're still there. Barring any last-minute change in plans, the Presidential Campaign Council of the ruling All Progressives Congress, APC, will this weekend release the final list of members of the council. It was learned that the council was still receiving inputs from stakeholders, especially governors of the party. Presidential candidate of the party, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who arrived in the country from London on Thursday evening, had shortly before he traveled some days ago released a 422-member campaign council. The list was met with grumblings and stiff resistance from most state chapters of the party, with the APC in Rivers State alleging that all its nominees to the council were dropped. However, after a tripartite meeting of the governors, the Abdullahi Adamu-led National Working Committee and the PCC on Wednesday, there were indications that all parties to the dispute might have now harmonized their positions. Indeed, a member of the PCC said that the comprehensive council list would be ready by this weekend in preparation for next week's planned flag-off of the campaign in Abuja. Joining us to discuss this is Tunji Abdulhamid, a legal practitioner, and Benga Olorunpomi, an APC member and public relations consultant. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, well, let's begin with you, Benga. First of all, what's with APC candidates and London anyway? Are we in for a deja vu already? Because we remember what happened when our president was coming in 2014, 2015. Why did your principal go to London?
Yeah, well, I don't know exactly what you mean by that. For us in the APC, we have a candidate that is extremely sellable. We have a candidate that is well experienced. We have a candidate that has a lot of antecedents that we can serve.
Yes.
All we're
Okay.
doing right now is-
Maybe like you said, you do not understand why I asked that. Nigerians were worried that is it going to be a kind of president, or is he going to be a kind of president that will every other day or every other week be visiting maybe London or overseas because of health issues or not? Because the concern was that he was there because of his health, even before the campaigns have started.
I'm not here to add fire to the rumor that the media has been propagating needlessly for the past 2 weeks. The man has said with his own lips that he went to take a rest for 10 days, just so that he can part time to rest from many of his engagements. So, if you guys have decided that he went for health reasons, well, I can't help you. What he did was to go and take time off. This is his right. And he regained his energy. And immediately he returned, he has gotten back to work. So I don't understand this rumor that you want to extend that he went for health reasons.
Well, rumors can come, but it's your place to debunk the rumors and give us the real thing that is happening. So if you say he was just going to rest in London, well, he's back now.
He's back now. And as I said, he has gone back to work. Today, he had several meetings. He visited the presidential council, campaign council office, and met with several. And even as I speak to you, he's in a series of meetings just so that all interests are the publication of the final list of members of the campaign council. So we understand that we need to align all interests, and that's what he's doing.
Okay, before I go to my other guest, we're also wondering what is it that always happens in the primaries? A date was set, it was moved forward. Now campaigns were supposed to be flagged off, and there's been a delay. The list that was released is now going to be re-released during this at the weekend rather, and then you are flagging off on a later date. Why are these delays? Is it that the internal mechanisms for resolving issues is collapsing or something?
Well, again, you are the one using the word collapse. There is nothing like that. What has happened is we are a big. We are the only truly national party, and all our interests must be aligned. The issues that came up that made it so that we had to readdress and reappraise our campaign list has been taken care of, and all interests are being considered. We have not broken any laws. All what we are doing is taking our time, and so if the campaign has not officially taken off, but in our minds we have already started campaigning. More than 20 rallies held while the man wasn't even around, and Nigerians are very aware of who their next president is. So that it hasn't officially taken off is of no concern. And when it does, be ready to donate.
Okay, well, let me come to you, Tunji. The political landscape is about to get really hot. PDP is flagging off on Monday, and APC will soon flag off. The list will be out this weekend. Let's talk about how that makes you feel, especially now that the APC candidate is back, and according to party members, he's back and better than when he left. How does it make you feel right now?
Yeah, I didn't get you clearly, but you are asking me how does it make me feel to see APC not end of the campaign since 28th of September.
Not just right? APC campaigns are going to begin in earnest especially from Monday next week. So you are a political analyst, you are a legal practitioner, and you are a concerned Nigerian. So what is your take on all that? Do you see a campaign that will be satisfactory to the citizens of Nigeria and help Nigeria shape its future?
Let me first of all react to the APC inability to flag off its campaign as scheduled. As far as I'm concerned, it's worrisome, and it's an evidence that probably APC is not ready for this campaign. Or it shows clearly that there is no synergy between the APC and the, because the complaint by the chairman 2 days ago was that the list release does not have their own input in it, and some of the governors also complained about that. So it's worrisome in the sense that, look, if we delay campaign in this manner, what will now happen if eventually the APC win election? Will it not be like what our party did in the last election, where we have 6 months before a minister's list was released in the name of we are taking our time? You know, a national issue like that. So I'm working in that regard. They are not proactive in taking decisions and acting. Regarding campaign, I think this one will not be different from what we have been saying before now. It will still be the same jamboree when the things start take off. It may not be there. I will not be surprised if I don't see that, because I know what most people have been doing is to just attack one another. And if you look at all the parties that is contesting, it appears Alhaji Atiku Abubakar is well for it, because the program has been followed as scheduled. All the program has been followed as scheduled. It's the only candidate that has released his program in terms of five-point agenda. So I feel more prepared than any other candidate in this election. And that's probably because of the unpreparedness of the APC. They are having an issue regarding the flag off. And the absence of the presidential candidate is also not helpful. And I will not agree with the excuse being given that to rest. If campaign flag off and the campaign program have been scheduled before he traveled, and he knows exactly when the program will take place, when particular program will take place. He was invited for MBA, whatever, he was not around. He was invited for another program in travel. Why will the president candidate not be available for all the matters necessary? Are you saying he's not well prepared? He didn't program himself very well? Because you are aware, all these programs we are talking about are not just yesterday that was released, 2 days ago, 10 days ago that was released. They've been released before his own schedule. So as a president to be, you don't work based on your own time. You work based on people's time and based on national interest and based on people's interest and national interest. So as far as I'm concerned, it's worrisome for me for what I'm seeing in APC. It appears they're not ready for this campaign and for this election.
Okay, Benga, you heard what Tunji said, but some members before now, as we have said earlier, were aggrieved over a lot of things. Muslim ticket, we know that some Christians who are APC in the north did not like it. To the presidential campaign list and sundry other reasons, they were very aggrieved. How has that been resolved? Yes, the principal has come back. Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu has come back. But how have you resolved that, or how do you intend to resolve that? Because as the ruling party, if something goes wrong in your party, Nigerians can worry.
So I publicly declared exactly that I'm an APC member, but I think my friend on the other side is a member of PDP, but hasn't come out to say exactly where he belongs to, which is a little dishonest. And I'd like to ask him, which governor called him and complained to him that their interests aren't being accommodated? That would be, that's just him, trying to bring a secret that doesn't exist. To say, the events were set and the candidate wasn't available. He should tell me where exactly it was published that APC was going to flag up on the day INEC said everybody could kick off. At no time did APC say they were going to give a date that they were going to kick off. Now we have said we want an issue-based campaign. And you are now the one bringing the issue of Muslim tickets. That's not the issue. That is not an issue. We have picked a candidate. We have picked a running mate. Let's allow Nigerians to vote based on competence, based on antecedents. We picked the best choice from the southwest and the best choice from the northeast. I stand to say here that there's no better ticket than the Tinubu Jetima ticket. It exudes competence, it exudes ability, capacity, and these two men have always demonstrated that they are of the Christian at all times. At all times. Fought for the survival of Christians in Borno. He built schools in Christian communities. He rebuilt churches when Boko Haram burns them down. So why are we talking about his religion? How does it matter? When I was calling on this show, that's for a Christian or a Muslim. So why are we talking about religion? Let's talk about competence and ability. On those two things, APC have the best ticket.
I'm glad you have that kind of confidence there. But if we're talking about issues in the Nigeria of today, I'm not talking about 1993, where Biola and his running mate were Muslims, both of them. We're talking about now. A lot of people have seen this Muslim ticket as exuding, because that's the word you were using, as exuding arrogance and also exuding insensitivity. Will you dismiss that and say Nigerians shouldn't even be talking about that, but they should be talking about antecedents of what your principal has done?
You are the only one talking about it, sir. You are the one who is making it an issue. What matters to Nigerians is how do we take advantage of the railroad that President Buhari has built and actually put Nigeria's GDP from an average GDP of every year to 7% every year. How do we put our youth who have all the intelligence and all the creativity to make wealth, to create wealth? How do we put that to work? How do we get our women to work? How do we make Nigeria the biggest economy in Africa? That is what matters. It's not about their religion. Yes, when I was coming on this show, nobody asked me about religion.
In essence, you're telling Nigerians what should matter to them and not what they think matters to them.
What matters to Nigeria is how they will prosper. And Tinubu has done it for Lagos. What he did for Lagos, while being a Muslim that is married to a king, his wife is the deacon of a church. He attended the church the day she was given that position. So, how more friendly can you be? You are not making it an issue. Nigerians don't care about that.
Okay, well, Tunji, let me come to you. He has just spoken about what Nigerians should be concerned with, but you seem to be concerned about some other things. He has also dismissed the issue of Muslim and some other things that Nigerians might be talking about. What do you think about that?
Well, in as much as a issue regarding the race, and particularly...
First of all, just a moment,
Tunji.
Sorry for cutting you. Let's establish one thing. He said you didn't talk about you being PDP. You are PDP, right?
I am a member of PDP.
Very good. So let's establish that fact that you are not denying that fact. So answer the question.
It's not eating. It is not a report introduced as a PDP member. It wasn't eating. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm not here to speak as a PDP spokesperson or whatever. I'm speaking as a Nigerian. My interest as a Nigerian. That's what I'm speaking, and I'm speaking fact. If I say anything that is not that interpreted by another fact, it can come up with it. I will not say because I'm a member of PDP now derogate a particular party or candidate. I'm concerned, you see, regarding the Muslim ticket, an issue for me. It is for the Nigerians to decide whether or not they want a party that has that's not sensitive to what's happening in the country now. You know, the way we are in the country now, we need balancing regarding even ethnic and religious sentiment. You can't talk about 1993 when we're in 2022. The position we have in 1993 is not the position we have now. So I will leave everything to Nigerians to determine whether or not they want a particular state to dominate the system. So I will not talk more on that in that regard, because if I have to be, they can punish them with a vote, and then we'll see where we go.
Okay.
They are daring Nigeria to say, look, we don't care about your interest, we don't care about your sensitivity.
Let me return to Benga so that we can try to wrap this thing up. Benga, let me come back to you. I've asked this question before. I asked someone else this question, and I'm asking you now. You are APC, you are the ruling party, and whether you go to the National Assembly or you go to the Governor's Forum, you are in the majority. But it seems like a third force is rising for the first time. Because it wasn't really a third force when the APC came up. They were the opposition that gave the PDP the run for their money. But now there seems to be a third force that everybody is jittery about. In the media space, everybody's talking about this third force, even if I do not mention names. Are you threatened by this third force, or you think it's a walk in the park?
So, I was part of the 2011 campaign of Nuhu Ribadu. I was part of the campaign of Buhari in 2016 and 2019. And I think I have enough experience to know when I'm facing a formidable opponent or I'm facing a bit of a joke. And I won't stay here and disparage anybody. All I can just say is this. If this third force can have more than 40 senatorial candidates out of the 109 senatorial slots that is available for Nigerians to vote for, if this third force can muster more than 120, I don't know, about out of West members, out of 306, if this third force has not come up with any alternative argument other than to complain about the many things that regular Nigerians are complaining. They are crying, Nigerians are asking for things, and they are either of them providing solutions, they are crying louder. If that is the third force, then I don't think the APC has anything to fear.
The House of Assembly members, the National Assembly, State Assembly, and all that are not going to be the only ones voting. Do you think the people don't have the kind of power that they can, remove whoever they want to remove from power if they want to? Do you think it doesn't matter so long as they don't have National Assembly members and the people you mentioned?
So for good or for bad, right? Elections are like, you have to have the logistics and the know-how and the manpower to master your army to deliver you on election day. This you are talking about, they are very loud on social media and non-existent on the street. They are extremely vocal when it comes to on the internet, but ask people everywhere, do you know these guys? And they're like, oh, okay.
Okay, well, maybe we should
hold. I'm not scared of this.
Benga, maybe we should hold that thought because we are really running out of time. after talking about your party, would like you to also just address both of you. Let me remain with you, Benga, before I go back to Tunji for a final word. Talk to the electorate right now, because they are the ones that we need to educate so that they make the right choices. So briefly now for 30 seconds, if you may.
All right, Nigerians, we are on the march again. President Muhammadu Buhari and the APC have done the best that they can within the last 8 years to stabilize the country. We had a rough time, COVID, the war in Ukraine, and things have truncated many of the things we wanted to do. But in Bola Ahmed Tinubu and Fatima are two men who have delivered in very, very impossible situations in their state. What I'm saying is that trust them with your vote, call out the mass and vote for them, and what to make Lagos possible is what he will do to make Nigeria possible.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Tunji, over to you. Please, a word to the electorate, Nigerians who are listening to us now.
Yeah, the electorate to look for the more competent candidate, and the candidate can provide security. As far as I'm concerned, the APC-led government has failed the country, and I think Nigeria will not vote for a candidate who wants to continue from where the president stopped. It will be disastrous for us. No Nigerians who lost this country will pray for what will happen and to happen again, or for anybody to continue from where we are now. As far as I'm concerned, Nigerians know what is happening, and they know the best, and they know they will vote for the right candidate.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, at the end of the day, the power belongs to the people, and the choices we make will determine what our future will be like. We've been talking to Tunji Abdul Hamid, a legal practitioner, and Benga Olorunpomi, an APC member and public relations consultant. Thank you, gentlemen, for being a part of the show.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for having me.
And with that, we're up.
The goal and desire of that project. And that's why we are having people saying what they are saying. But I confirm to you, it's not true. The president candidate of APC is a tested, trusted, and experienced politician who has paid his dues. And in the area of constituting or composing campaign committee or campaign council, it's not a lily liver. So I'm saying this for us to have this understanding that it's just the figment of the imagination of those who are trying to run down the president candidate of APC.
Understand what is playing out, the propaganda that went out that the party is corrupt and all that. Don't forget, individuals, they will be taken out of the party because most of them are returned back to APC where they turned them to say, yes, we're not saying that there is no corruption in any system, political system. There is. But when you look at it, what is the state of Nigerians at that period compared to now? If you're talking about corruption, what were you buying rice? Tell me, Marianne, what were you buying rice back then? How much were you transported to your village? How much were you entering flight? Same government people call corrupt. How much was school fees? How much was dollars at that time? So when we look at this issue and place it beside what is happening now, please, Atiku is ready by experience to ensure that such system does not kind of grow again from what APC have put us in. If they could push in for EFCC to come up, if they could push in for ICPC to come up, what do you think will go bring on board?
Countries where people do not go to school, where children especially do not go to school, you create a huge gap, therefore meaning that we cannot have them filling employment slots, if any are available. If children are not in school, there are open books for bandits, for kidnappers, for terrorists to recruit. That's what we see happening. If you look at the history of the Northeast and the Northwest, you find that as the Lake Chad began to dry up because of climate change, more and more young people had nothing to do. There was no fishing to be done. So there were easy recruits for terrorists. So if we're not dealing with education, if it's not important to us, then we're not really serious about building this country. ASU, for instance, has been on strike since February. All federal government universities have been on strike. They've been closed since February. I do not see a deliberate attempt to end this issue. The president spoke at the UN just some weeks ago, promising that Nigeria was going to do better in terms of our budgetary allocation to education. But our budgetary allocation for this year is even the lowest ever, about 5.6%. That's pretty low. Now, we're talking primary education, tertiary education. Acceptably, education is on the concurrent list, which means that states also have a huge role to play in this. Now, moving from education, I believe we also need to focus very importantly on the impact on the slots that we give to women. I know we've had conversations about 35% for women. Women need to be more visible. I would like to see women more visible in the incoming government in 2023. We have brilliant women in the economy, in politics and finance, and would like to see them featuring importantly in segments of the society. In our law-making bodies, the Senate, the House of Reps, I'd like to see more women take up seats there, so that we can have better laws that favor women. You can see the trend of our National Assembly that bills that favor women are easily trashed, and understandably so. When you have men who are patriarchal, they would trample on anything that makes women's voices louder. So we need women in the room to speak loudly for women in Nigeria and make the points count.
Financial literacy is an essential skill for the 21st century. The principles of debt management, profitable savings techniques, and the importance of money have helped many. In 2011, the Central Bank of Nigeria made a commitment to reduce the number of financially excluded Nigerians from 46.3% in 2010 to 20% by 2020. Many fintech startups are plugging into this gap and targeting niche markets. One of such startups is Harvest. Harvest was founded by Sholape Akimpelu, who once worked at a marketing agency. Her dream is to help women in Africa take control of their finances by bridging the economic gender gap. She believes more women need to be intentional by improving their financial well-being.
Okay, so Harvest simply is an inclusive finance for African women. So we give women familiar access to savings, impact investments, and credit. So when we say impact investment, that is women impact investing into smallholder female farmers specifically. So that way yourself, right, we equip you with personal finance, insight, tools, platforms